Hey everyone, welcome to Shoot On. It's mid-December, we're in west central Oklahoma. It may not look like it because we're wearing t-shirts, but we're having a heat wave. But we're also trying to do some deer hunting with TenPoint's new Havoc RS440 crossbows. And we're here with Brian Flaherty. He's with TenPoint, and he's been showing us the ropes of this new platform. It's an all-new platform, the shortest crossbow we've ever come across, and it has been tremendous as far as its speed, as far as its accuracy, and it comes with a couple different optic platforms, which Brian's going to go into some detail on. But anyway, we'll let him talk about the platform. And you know, you guys have been really delivering a lot of innovation the last couple years. Last year you introduced 3 new bows that have really set a new standard as far as speed primarily, but also for just overall dimensions. And when you think it can't get any better, you come out with something that just totally rocks the world as far as reducing the overall length of a crossbow, and that is the Havoc RS440. So why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about the thought process behind that, and what you've been doing in general as far as you know, bringing this new infusion of technology into the crossbow market.
Sure. So if you recall, Rob, in 2020 we came out with the Accu-Slide cocking and decocking system, which is silent cocking and safe decocking. It's really the only true safe decocking system on the market for crossbows. But I tell you what, our engineers have been busy over the past 18 months. Like I said, the Accu-Slide was such a hit, but we're not resting on our laurels. We've been at it. Our engineers have done a tremendous job at designing this new platform that our Havoc RS440 has. Basically, when we took a look at the marketplace, we saw a need for a super fast, but also super comfortable, ultra compact crossbow. So there are other compact crossbows out there on the market, but the things that we put into this crossbow have made it way more comfortable and way more fast. So this Havoc RS440 shoots 440 feet per second. Now that's a true 440 feet per second with the arrow that it is packaged with.
Right. And that is your new center punch. That's a 16
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's a new 16-inch center punch arrow. And basically the thought process behind that is it makes no sense to make a ultra compact, super short crossbow, but yet you have an arrow and broadhead combination that sticks out 3 to 4 inches. We want the whole configuration, the whole platform to be very, very compact. And so that's why we package it with the 16-inch center punch arrows.
And that is shooting a 100 grain point?
Correct. That is correct. So basically, as you take a look at this platform, like you mentioned, Rob, it's 26.5 inches overall in length. It is 7.5 inches wide. A couple of big features about this crossbow. Number one, as you mentioned, our Accu-Slide cocking and decocking system. Number two is our micro track barrel, and that gets string life in excess of 1,000 shots.
Wow.
So when you're taking a look at your crossbow investment against competitors, we're averaging about 800 more shots than our competitors on one set of string cables. So that's a huge selling feature for this bow. And as I mentioned before, the comfort factor in this crossbow is really tremendous. We have our new tactical stock, if you can take a look at it here, the tactical stock, as well as the reverse draw bow assembly. So while it's ultra compact and super short, you're still getting that comfort factor that people love. I mean, and you've shot it a couple times. Yeah. As you shoulder that crossbow, I mean, it's amazing how much comfort there is in such a small platform.
And what I've noticed from our morning hunt this morning and shooting it prior, the maneuverability obviously is tremendous as far as if you're in a tight spot, tight blind, up in a tree, because everything is nice and snug, and that also bringing your shoulders, your arms in, gives you so much more stability.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And it's got a good balance too. Very center mass sort of.
Yep. Once you have that reverse draw bow assembly seated in the center, it really makes it very balanced and very easy to shoulder. And as you mentioned, all that weight is now sitting back, so it's very easy to maneuver for some of those tight shots.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, everybody's looking at this big hunk of optic up here. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah. So we launched the Vapor Xero crossbow in November with Garmin. Our partnership with Garmin this year has gone tremendous. You wouldn't believe the amount of Vapor Xeros that we have sold thus far. The great thing about the Havoc RS440 with the Xero scope is that this bow is now custom built with the scope. So our partnership with Garmin has allowed us to kind of have a couple custom features. One of them, which you'll notice here, is a raised cheek piece. So this scope sits somewhat high. So all these Xero crossbows that we sell come with that raised cheek piece for perfect eye level alignment with the scope. Another feature is that we have an integrated range button, and we'll have to show you some footage of this, but an integrated range button in the pistol grip. So that way you can simply have your finger and range your target, range your animal, and then move to the trigger. So that's another custom feature with that Garmin Xero scope.
Nice.
But we've had rave reviews about that Garmin scope. You know, we had developed that with them for a couple of years, and it basically takes all the guesswork out. So, you know, a single dot, it's set up, it adjusts for your brightness, it adjusts for your distance, it calibrates for any change in distance. So it's been really just taking the guesswork out of the crossbow scope. There's no more gap shooting. We've had tremendous response to that scope right there.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, when you've got a deer coming in, especially when you're in open territory, it's hard sometimes for people to gauge that distance, but to be able to continually, as the deer is coming in, get that range estimation and auto point of impact, man, that really simplifies that for a lot of people.
Yeah, so we definitely feel that this platform will be the talk of the crossbow industry in 2021. Like I said, the comfort is the biggest factor, and the speed is the next biggest factor. So we've got a lot of engineering hours in this platform, a lot of research, a lot of development. People like yourself have been out here testing it, putting it through the paces, and you know, we are getting great feedback about it. We always value the pre-testing phase, the pre-launch phase of these crossbows to make sure that we are, you know, finding that message that resonates with the consumer, finding the key features that the consumer wants. So that's very important in all of our research and development.
Now, as neat as the Xero optic is, I've been using
I've
been using the Evo X this morning and previously, and that's got a really neat reticle. Why don't you explain a little bit about how that came about?
Yeah, so this is our new Evo X Marksman Elite scope. The scope is designed for crossbows that shoot up to 500 feet per second. So obviously in the crossbow world right now, they're getting faster and faster and faster. Obviously we need a scope to accommodate those speeds. So this is up to 500 feet per second, includes aiming points out to 100 yards. And as you mentioned with the reticle, it is an alternating dot and crosshair configuration. And I tell you what, once you peer through that scope, it really cleans it up. I mean, there's no merging of aim points. It's just very clean, very easy to see through. It also has target turrets, which make it very easy for windage and elevation adjustments right there. So another cool feature about that scope is, as you can see, it's in camo. So you can purchase this bow with the camo scope, which is in Vail Alpine, or you can purchase it with just the black graphite scope. But we've had, you know, in sending it out to different people to test, this is, you know, quite the combination, very aesthetically pleasing, looks very cool and performs very, very well.
Absolutely, it is. And you've probably got a lot of really good response from the Accu-Slide over this past year. I mean, for all of you who don't know what that is, it really is a revolutionary system for decocking a crossbow, making it a lot safer for everyone who's using it, even veterans. The ability to unload that crossbow without having to shoot an arrow at the end of the day is tremendous. So just explain just briefly about how the Accu-Slide system works.
Yeah, sure. So like I said earlier, that was in development for quite a few years. At TenPoint, we never come out with a product that is not 100% safe proof, and that's very big to us. So while there are other decocking systems out there on the market, we did not bring ours out until we were 100% confident in it.
Yeah.
And so the Accu-Slide is first off silent cocking, so there's no game spooky noise. You don't hear a click, 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 click as you're cocking the crossbow. But on the decocking side, it's safe. So as you go to decock that crossbow, and again we'll get some footage for you guys, but as you go to decock that crossbow, if you take your hand off the handle, that bow does not fly wildly out of control. Yeah. So there is no risk of damage to your crossbow with a dry fire situation. There is no risk of injuring yourself as that handle flies wildly out of control. So it's silent cocking and it's safe decocking. And like I said, there's other systems out there. Ours is the only true safe system out there.
Great. Well, this should go like gangbusters for 2021. From the feedback that we've been hearing and seeing here on our hunt. And speaking of hunt, you and I have not scored yet.
We have not. We have not.
So some of the people that are with us have already had their luck this morning, but I think me and Brian are going to go out and see what we can do. So we're going to have a full article on the Havoc in over on shooton.com, and you can get a lot of the details of the crossbow specifications and some of our impressions, and hopefully see what we've been able to take with it. So make sure you visit shooton.com to get the full article, and let's go hunting.
Yeah, let's go do it. Let's go do it.
Well, that was a fun trip. That afternoon, I went out and set up on a small food plot. I was on the ground, just had a little bit of brush in front of me, and right about dark, a nice 6-point came in about 20 yards. Was able to make the shot, but before that, I had a couple of non-shooters in front of me for about a half an hour, and I knew the 6-point was going to come in, so I had to, set up again with my right knee up. I'm sitting on the ground, and if it were not for the short length of the Havoc and having all this weight distributed further back, the balance was just right, and I was able to hold like so for, it was over a half an hour. And if I'd had a longer bow like that, something wider, all that weight up front, it would have been a struggle, and I'm sure I couldn't have done it. But this allowed me to stay quiet, stay still, and be ready when the shot came. Now, Brian had a similar experience the next morning. Now, he was hunting in a pop-up blind, but he's a big boy. You saw how tall he is. He's 6'5", and that's tight quarters for somebody of that size. So he was in a pop-up blind, and he had a nice 8-point. Came in real close. I think it was like 15 yards maybe, feeding from him. And same deal. Couldn't move around a lot, but you had to be ready. And if he had had a longer bow, he might have been scraping the inside of the blind. So a short bow like this, whether you're on the ground in a pop-up blind, brush blind, or up in a tree, being able to keep that bow ready and tight and not have to do a lot of maneuvering, not having to struggle to keep it in position for the shot is huge. And definitely the Havoc and the Siege, which is what he was using, delivers that. So that is TenPoint's 2021 lineup, the new stuff anyway, the Havoc and the Siege. So go check them out if you're at your local shop. I think you'll be pleased with the balance. And if you're really filling your oats, take a look at the model with the Xero optic. Now this, again, as Brian was explaining, is when you've got deer coming in to you, you've got to keep cognizant of the range all the time. Most people, it's use a rangefinder, but that's two-handed job. This thing gives you a push button. You're up, and you can just push the button, get your range, until you're ready to take the shot. So it eliminates all that extra movement. A lot of people I was talking to my local archery shop, they were selling these, and a lot of people are really buying those, really liking them. So something you might want to consider if you want to go all the way with your new crossbow setup for hunting. So anyway, that's TenPoint's new Havoc, new Siege for 2021. Go check them out. I think you'll like it.